Okay, it's the 14th of July 2021, and I wanted to talk about Irish identity and pride in being Irish and in Ireland. I can only start from my own experience and try and talk it out. Being from Dublin, I wouldn't have had a real identity of Irishness as such. We're in the pale, as they say. But I went searching for it. I went looking for it. And you can go from one extreme to another. I suppose the extreme is Gael Gore Irish identity, which to me is too much because I can't speak Irish. And if you meet somebody who's Gael Gore, they insist on not using my given name, which is Joan, and they call me Siobhan, and that annoys me. So, Irish identity. So, I'm thinking of the early 90s. There was an emergence of Irish identity. In my experience, a pride that was starting to emerge about 1992. It was 93. I know I'm connecting it with being on Inishbofin, and the president then was Mary Robinson. She came to do a speech in this tent, and there was something about her. Now, I don't know anything about her really, but there was, and I wouldn't agree with some of the things that she promotes the CC. I don't agree with her with that. But there was something regal about her. Now, I could be wrong. She could be part of the whole band, but I don't think so. Anyway, it's not as if she's, our figurehead or whatever, but at that time, there was an emerging pride after the dark years of the 80s, unemployment, immigration, the lot. There was this emerging pride, genuine pride, as an individual country. Was the EU in them? We had the EEC. My dog wants to come in. I don't know. I'm going to press pause. Right, so 1993, about emerging pride about Ireland, being Irish. And we were in the EEC. I don't think we were in the EU then. The EEC, which is economic, thing. But by 1996, there was the rumblings, there was the beginnings of it being completely hijacked. Completely hijacked. The coming of roads, of EU funding, and then all the referendums, the yearly referendums, because of our constitution. We have to have a referendum to change the wording of our constitution. I think the first one with Maastricht, when was that one? Was that the early 90s? I don't know, anyway. When we won the Eurovision, 90, what was that, 90? 2, 3, 4, not sure. And then all the tourists arrived. Thousands upon thousands of tourists. Before, the British never came to Ireland on holidays. You can't blame them. But they came. Good business, I suppose. And we're getting funding. But somehow our Irish identity got hijacked. And I would say it got hijacked on purposely. we had I'm never fond of St. Patrick's Day, but anyway, St. Patrick's Day. And people wore the shamrock. And this emerging, kind of wearing these stupid fucking hats. This kind of Irishness that you only export, this false Irishness that you would bring with you when you went on your holidays to Spain or Morocco, where you'd teach your few Irish words to the locals, and wearing these stupid, degrading hats. So, people have noticed, people around Ireland have noticed this, the chipping away of Irish identity, and it made a dirty word. Like nowadays, it's like a dirty word to be a nationalist. Now, being from Dublin, I wasn't originally a nationalist. Oh, look, I'm after it. I had that. It became an Irish. It has connotations, I guess. But you are right to be proud of your country as an individual, like the way a person is an individual. Your country, your individual nation, you must have pride in it. And not to say that you're better than any other country, absolutely not. But it's like jewels in a box, these different jewels. So our country is Ireland, our nationality is Irish, in all its whatever. And our history, and where we've been, and where we are in the present day. So anyway, I'm trying to talk about this. So I got to read this, what I have on my website, about a song I wrote in May 1996 called Fool for a Penny. I don't think today is a good singing or dancing or talking day, but anyway, I'm going to read it out. So you find it on my website, joanwalsh.ie, Fool for a Penny. I was sat looking at RTE 1 News. It was 1 minute past 6 news on a very small black and white television in a small box room of a house in Harold's Cross Cottages. The television, briefly on loan from a sister, sat on the floor. The newsreader was announcing in delighted tones that Ireland was to receive a loan of £9 million. And then in brackets I have, or was that £9 billion? ? I'm working on memory here, close brackets. How could the newsreader be delighted? To me it was obvious. This was the oldest trick in the book. 9 million, or billion, beads and mirrors to ensnare us. Our sovereignty under threat. My own sovereignty was under threat too. I was so upset by this announcement and what it truly meant. And so I wrote Fool for a Penny in 1996, my anti-EU song. So then I had a recording of it on a tape, and then I go on. There were old signposts over the next few months and year. From memory, I'd had a conversation with someone down in Kerry. They told me the old people's houses were being bought up by certain Europeans at cheap prices. The buyers in question allowing the old person to live on in the house until they died, and the buyer then taking over the house once the old person had passed away. We were both in agreement there was something intrinsically wrong with this. 1996, Ireland was changing. The first murmurings of the beginnings of motorways and widening of roads, the cutting off of winding curves, left over to the side straightened roads like oxbow lakes. The landscape and the journey beginning to change forever. This is when we were getting money coming in from Europe to pay for all this. At the time, around this time, I'd seen condescending posters in Dublin, bus shelters, courtesy of the European Commission, announcing, "Grow more flowers." What? The following year, I'd been to visit the school in Bull Alley, Dublin, a few times. On the walls of the school were small blue stickers with the European white stars and "I love my country, Europe" written on them. What? Propaganda at a young age. There were also cartoon posters in glass frames with a friendly-looking dragon or people sweeping out the borders of all the countries. What? And as for the feeling I had at the time, I was passionate and disgusted. Something was up and I didn't like it one bit. Did people realise? I could not see nor know the full picture. How could I? But there was something very wrong being set up. I was passionate to get this song heard. I sang it at songwriters' nights. I had no way of getting it aired nationally. I always introduced it as my anti-EU song. In brackets, not anti-European countries. I regretted that I could not get this subtle song out there and heard. For the sentiment alone. I was reminded of this for the last time at the march against the IMF in Dublin. For me, this song ran out of date years ago. Its warning now useless. Would it have made a difference? I will never know. And who am I to even think that? If the river is to run its course, it will do so. Or maybe not. Some have been holding the line. I share this song now with my apologies for being 18 years too late. This post was done in 2014. In quotes, "When Usher returns with gold in his hands," end quote, was still way to the future in the 2000s when the money god blinded all. It had a price. There was always going to be a price. I saw it in 1996. No doubt I was not alone in that feeling at the time. A man from County Mayo, visiting Inishturk Island like me in 1996, nodded his head to me and said a few words of acknowledgement after I sang this new song of mine to him in the bar there. He knew. He understood. In quotes, "She," end quote. In the song is the guardian of this land, but it is also me, travelling the small roads and walking the coastlines to the west. The lyrics, "white flags" or "voices high," I could not quite square and still can't. White flags being surrender, giving up, accepting. In brackets, must be the fluoridated water, the Prozac, X Factor, end bracket. Could I have put red flags in instead of white flags? I thought about it, tried it. However, there was no revolution going on. Voices high, I didn't hear any. Today, people are getting louder. Often I would sing just, "and she's lifting up white flags, lifting up white flags." Now in 2014 we know the story. The betrayal continues. Please note, strangers in our land does not refer to ordinary folk who happen to be genuine immigrants to Ireland. It refers to strange systems, corporate entities, the selfish ones, and those individuals who think it's okay to buy property, land from under ordinary folks. You know the story. Or strangers to our land. Loss of ourselves, our inner compass, our sovereignty, our rights. For those that may not know, Uiscin refers to Uiscin of the legend Tiernan Og. We are all Uiscin. I have written a lot here on what's essentially a very short song. I write all this as somehow to honour the then that was then, and how I felt, and what I would have liked to have shared publicly back then too. Anything else? And so I wrote the song, lyrics and music for Fuel for a Penny, penned by Joan Walsh in May 1996, copyrighted, registered with IMRO 1996. There was something there now. Yeah, so that article that I put on my website was 2014. And in January I was going through my songwriting tapes, slowly digitising them. And I had me singing this song, making it. And in part of it, I don't sing she's lifting up white flags. I have something like she's lifting up the flags of our spirits high, or for our spirits high. I'll have to go and find it. And that's more appropriate because red flags, too revolutionary. That's what they want us to do, get angry, do stuff, and that doesn't work. White flags is surrender, and we've been doing that for years. We've been, like my other video, we've been caught in a dance. And the beginnings of it, well, it could be far back before we got that first loan in 1996, absolutely, the idea for it. But we did have that pride at the emergence, at the beginning of the 90s. There was something magic about the 90s as well. But we had this pride, and then slowly, these referendums, chipping away. The bringing in of loans, the bringing in of personnel infiltrating our councils, our schools. You know, and I guess we need to get back to our genuine Irish identity. I could use the word wholesome. Not this false identity with stupid high hat wearing, you know, like that you do on St. Patrick's Day. Those hats made in China. Or even our flag, which is green, white and orange. It might be gold, actually. But we just, you know, don't go into the extreme of Gaelic or Irishness, nor the fluffy airhead, drinking pints, singing Irish songs only when you're away on your holidays in Spain. You know, what about the real internal Irishness, human beingness that you have a right to be proud of, that you can claim? So I'm just going to press pause on that. Wait a minute, I have to take that page down. So I'll read that out. I'm sure somebody else discussed about Irishness, but you see, it's up to us. Go searching for it, go looking for it, go, I don't know, finding it. I'll just press pause and I'll get my guitar and I'll sing this song. Resumed. So I have my guitar. I have an Irish flag at the side of my house, on my fence. I have one on my shed. I have one on my window. And years ago, I wouldn't have thought of doing that at all, you know. But it's kind of important. It is important. Now, okay, Fool for a Penny, written in May 1996, registered with IMRO, copyright, and let's see if I can do. Are we fool for a penny? Once fool for a crown. Now fools are we for francs and marks, silver dimes. When Oisin returned with reins in his hands, he found his father's kingdom gone. Father's kingdom gone, gone. Strangers in his land. She's walking the coastline, marking it out, tracing a circle of blue sea of her doubts. Her cloak is of green, hair our wind sky, and she's lifting up the flags. She's lifting up our flags of our voices high. So we fool for these pennies, once fool for a crown. Now fools are we for francs and marks, silver dimes. When Oisin returns with gold in his hands, he'll find his father's kingdom gone. Father's kingdom gone, and strangers in his land. It was a predictive song with the last line, when Oisin returns with gold in his hands. That was like the Celtic Tiger years, where everybody, not everybody, because it became a split society between the have and the have-nots. And the money-making god, kneeling to the money, everything was mad, going mad. Rents going up, everything going up, making big profits, people buying property, going mad, prices of houses going mad. And that's when we lost it. People lost the fucking, their spirit then. And you could say it was madness, but it was actually organised for that to happen. So, with this just last verse, when Oisin returns with gold in his hands, you suddenly wake up and he'll find his Ireland is gone and strange in his land. In other words, taken over by systems, whatever. You know, suddenly shafted. But the beginnings of it was back when we got that first loan. I can't remember the minister. Who was it? Gareth? What was his name? Desmond? No, I can't remember. And yeah, so So she's walking the coastline, marking it out, tracing the circle of blue. I'm sure there was countless people back then in the 90s going, I'm not liking what's going on, but I can't put my finger on it. Or else they did know what was going on. They took the time to check the legislation, what was being passed through the Dáil, what was happening, or else emotionally they felt they knew what was going on. We're all over the place around the country, And her cloak is of green, her hair are wind sky, and she lifts up our flags of our spirits high. So let's go with that. Let the goddess of this land lift up our flags of our spirits high. It's about time.